So, I mean, ultimately, I like what they've done, but it makes me wonder about what's coming next. And
Hmm.
the reason I say that, coach, is that, okay, so let's go through the roster just real quick. I mean, you've got starting on defense, you have 16 defensive linemen right now, including you've added two tackles and two ends.
Hmm.
So you've added four defensive linemen and you have 16 total. You have seven linebackers, including Greenlaw, but take Greenlaw out for a minute because we know he's not going to play. So you got Warner, Campbell, Flanagan, Fowles, Graham, Winters, Curtis Robinson. That's almost a complete linebacking core right there.
Hmm.
At safety, you got Jair Brown, Hafanga, Odom, Taylor Hawkins, Eric Harris. They probably could use a safety there for sure because they don't know about Hafanga. And then at corner, they got seven corners: Mooney, Ambry, Demo, Womack, Luter, and then the two guys they just added, Chase Lucas and Isaac Yadam. Um, so, I mean, there's not tremendous need on the defensive side. And then if you go offense, you're like, okay, they need a third quarterback. But hey, they could go sign a Carson Wentz if they wanted to. And we could talk about who the best third string quarterback option is, or they could draft somebody.
Hmm.
They could go Pratt from Tulane if they want. Running back wise, they got CMC, Mitchell, Mason, and Juszczyk is back, so they're kind of taken care of there. You could maybe add one back. You got six wide receivers. If Ayuk, Debo, JJ, Danny Gray, Ronnie Bell, Tay Martin, you could always use an upgrade on the back end there. But you got, your top three guys. At tight end, you got Willis, Latu, and Kittle, and obviously you could use another tight end. But I think Latu might be quite a bit better this year. That's just my guess. And then on the offensive line, they go 11 deep. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Brendel, Feliciano McKivitz. Your starters, let's say Jalen Moore, Burford, Zakel, Barch, and a couple other guys, Luciano and Alarcon, as your backups. You definitely could use some quality depth and long term there. But when I look at the Niners, I look at a team that's almost complete. And it makes me wonder, and the reason I titled this stream, will the 49ers make one more big move? It seems like they don't really like what do they really need in the draft? A couple of pieces. I mean, they don't need a ton. Um, like I would be very comfortable if they took that kid Frazier out of West Virginia, the center,
Hmm.
in the first round. He's just a 315-pound mauler. And then followed up with a guard and a tackle, or a tackle and a guard in the next couple picks, and just go heavy offensive line and build up this fortress, and maybe find one more speed receiver for Brock, but build up the offensive line around Brock. But the other thought I had, and I was talking to Chase Senior yesterday about this,
Hmm. Hmm.
the idea to me never made sense before, but now it does make sense. And that is the trading of like three picks, maybe even three high picks, to Denver for Surtain. The Rams did this with Ramsey. And to me, there's a right and a wrong time to trade for one awesome veteran. The wrong time is when you're building. The right time is when you're in your Super Bowl window and you're trying to get over the top. And if you, I mean, down here in the bottom, Ron Holder says Max Melton and Cedric Gray. I'd be totally happy with them starting the draft, drafting the Rutgers corner and the linebacker from North Carolina. That would be fine with me. But if you told me the Niners could get Denver's Patrick Surtain for,
Hmm.
let's just say, a first and a third this year and a second next year, something along those lines, or maybe you throw in a player in addition, maybe a Sam Womack, whatever, something else to make it happen. I think they're uniquely positioned by what they've done so far in free agency to be able to make that kind of a trade really work for them. If you had said to me, if I was John Lynch, if I was Kyle Shanahan, what would be my takeaway from Super Bowl 58? Well, I mean, there's a few. but one is that obviously Mahomes is Mahomes, but that's
Mhm.
what are you going to learn from that? To me, what I learned is that, man, if you have Snead and McDuffie, man, you can do an awful lot. And then listening to Spagnolo talk about Snead and McDuffie and what those two guys enabled him to do schematically, defensively, because of their ability to cover man to man. That's intriguing. And the Niners, if you add Surtain to this group, and I think Denver's in a spot where they probably want draft capital. And it sounds like Snead is going to wind up in a trade to the Colts. If it hasn't already happened, it sounds like it's going to happen.
Mhm.
I actually think Surtain's better than Snead. And if I were the Niners, um, I'd be real interested in O line, D line in this draft. But if I can get Denver to trade me Surtain, I'm doing it. What do you think?
No, I don't like that move at all. That's a little too rich. Honestly, I think it's perpetuating it's perpetuating what we're trying to get away from, and that's from being a top heavy team. I understand that
Well, it's time to
oh,
win. It's time to
uh,
win right now.
yeah, but we're not a player away. That's a player away move.
But
We're
like,
not a play.
do you trust the Niners to make? I mean, look at the first and second round draft choices of this regime.
Right.
They've not been great, and this is kind of where Les Snead and Sean McVay were right when the Rams were trying to win a Super Bowl. Like Snead had kind of hit and he'd missed and he'd sort of hit, and they were kind of going 50% on their high picks like the Niners are. If the Niners go 50% on their high picks with these other ascending teams, I don't think they can get it done. I'm not in favor of trading picks for veterans very often, but in
Hmm.
this one scenario, I am because they're there and they're right there, and they're probably only going to be there for another year or two. And if they get this kind of a shutdown corner, I mean, you look at the division. I mean, you're going to have to deal with Green. Look at the conference, I should say. Green Bay's got all these receivers, and Detroit's got good receivers, and it's just like all these top contenders have good receivers. If
Hmm.
you have Snead, you got a shot. If you got Sertan, you got a shot. I'm, I to me it sounded risky, but if you go first and third this year, and you still have a bunch of picks on the back end, and you can get a number one corner, to me, I this is the year I would do it.
Nah, I don't agree with that at all. I feel like one of the reasons why you stay a competent organization is that you know how to transition and usher out assets amicably. You don't go and mortgage your future for one player that's really not going to tip the scales, right? Having another corner, adequate or better than Travarius Ward when we're already paying Travarius Ward to the tune of $12 million a year just really doesn't make sense, man. Patrick Surtain is an amazing talent, but just looking at where he's coming up on his contract here, man, he signed for 4 years, 20 million, and out of that 20 million guaranteed, he hasn't seen any of it yet. He made 600 grand his rookie year. He made 800 grand his second year. He made 900 grand in 2023, but he's due to make $19 million in 2025. That's something that is way too rich for us to be putting in the secondary of a defense that's really predicated on their defensive line and their front seven. You know what I mean? I was okay with making that type of signing for a Travarius Ward because we needed a lockdown guy. I will go one for one and get rid of Mooney if we would did something like that. Really, what we need on defense, quite honestly, is we need another top end talent to help out with the interior. We need a linebacker that we can feel that can start next to Fred Warner, and possibly we need to get a true free safety. So I just I don't think we're a player away. I think that would be too rich for us, and really right now, fiscally, we're trying to kind of batten down the hatches and purge ourselves with some of these contracts right now, rather than doubling down on young players who aren't really going to tip the scales for us. We went to the Super Bowl and we were better than the team we played. Let's not forget that, right? So let's know how to transition in a new generation of players, right? because we need to usher out the old ones. And we don't have to talk about our Super Bowl window. I don't care about the window. I want to be good, right? Like, as long as you get in the tournament, you got a shot. But if you're making these changes on your team solely thinking about the Super Bowl, you can fuck around and not even make the playoffs. So
I hear you, but listen to the facts. This is what the 49ers have gotten out of the first round in the last decade.
Okay.
Last year, nothing. The year before, nothing. The year before, Trey Lance, Kinlaw, Ayuk, Bosa, McGlinchey, Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, DeForest Buckner, Joshua Garnett. I mean, Eric Armstead, Jimmy Ward. But, there's a lot of misses there. I mean, they missed with Joshua Garnett. They missed with Reuben Foster. They missed with Solly. They missed with McGlinchey. They missed with Kinlaw. They missed with Lance, and it cost them 3 picks.
3 years.
So we're talking about 9 misses. That's a lot of misses in the first round. The one thing, when you trade for a great player, there's no miss possibility. You will not miss, right? You get the Rams traded for Jalen Ramsey. They won the Super Bowl. Do you think
that's not
the
all
Rams?
they did.
No, but I mean that they got over the top.
That's
they
not
made
all
a
they
move.
did.
The Rams had also struggled. I can give you the Rams first round picks. They've had none forever. And before that, they had Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Greg Robinson, and then Aaron Donald. But I mean, trading for Jalen Ramsey was one of the moves that helped get them over the top. I just think that the 49ers are now in that spot where they've been competitive. You can't have it both ways. You can't be like, well, Shanahan and Lynch haven't climbed the mountain, and then not be willing to make the big dramatic move to climb the mountain that may leave you a little exposed on the other end.
We did that though. What was Christian McCaffrey? Christian McCaffrey was the big swing. Javarius Ward was the big swing. Christian McCaffrey wasn't the big swing, Larry.
No, I don't think so. A first, a second, a third, and a fourth, all late in the draft. I think the big swing was Trey Lance. The Trey Lance.
Okay, I mean that was
big swing.
All right, yes, that was another big swing.
But that was a big swing on a player that was totally who knows what he is. This is a big swing on a guy that coming in will be your best corner. I mean, hey, look, there's different ways to build, and I could be sold on a number of different ways. It's not like I've got to have Surtain or bust. I just think that the Niners, if you said to me like a year ago,
right,
do you want to trade three high picks for Surtain? I would have said no. But now looking at the way they've done free agency, where they filled all their most of their holes, there's only a couple of holes and no real dramatic holes. Like you said, hey, they need a free safety.
So that's not a dramatic hole, free safety. Well, we don't have a Sam. We don't have another backer that's going to start. Who's starting next to Fred?
You don't like
that's not a hole.
You don't like Jair Brown and Hufanga?
No. It's already reports that Talanoa isn't guaranteed his job coming into camp this year. They're already squeezing that right now. Like,
okay, but I mean, I can find a real good safety or two in the draft, even if I made this trade. I mean, I'm only talking about 3 picks. I'm talking about this year's 1.
Okay.
This year's 3, of which they have 2, right? Or maybe it's 2 fours. And next year's 2. Like 2 high picks this year, 1 high pick next year.
So after 3 years of not having a first round pick, you want us to trade it away again? That'd be 4 years of not having a first round pick.
No, but here's the thing. You can't miss. If you miss, and when I say miss, if you get a guy who's going to take a year or 2 to develop, in this scenario, that's a miss because you've got Kittle, Bosa, Trent Williams. You're ready to go right now. They need to have a major hit or they need to go get a veteran. They have to hit in the first round. They can't just get a guy who's like nice. And if you're talking about like receivers, they usually take time. I'm not saying that it has to be Surtain. I'm just saying when I look at what the Niners have done, They filled a lot of their holes in their D line right now. They filled their hole at linebacker. If you like Devondre Campbell, I
They
mean,
did not
obviously,
fill their hole at linebacker, and I do not
well,
like Devondre Campbell.
they've got. I don't love them either, but they've got Dre Greenlaw coming back in a
Not
year, and I like Jalen Graham, and I think he's really good. So
Larry.
I'm
Come
looking
on,
at their
man.
linebacking core. I'm not worried about their like. I don't love Devondre Campbell, but like their
Right.
linebacking core doesn't worry me. I don't love all their safeties, but you know what? I think they could get one safety in the draft, even if they made this trade. But the one thing that they really badly need, they need a true shutdown corner. You got to have three guys, and they have Mooney and Lenore, and then Ambry's a question mark, Womack's a question mark, Luter's a question mark, Lucas is a special teamer. I like the kid they just signed from the Saints, but I mean, if you want to improve this team dramatically, get a number one corner that's really, really dominant opposite Mooney Ward. And now you really got something. And Surtain's out there and gettable. Or maybe the plan is, draft a bunch of offensive linemen. But I get the sense from the way they've handled their offensive line, bringing back Feliciano, bringing back McKivitz, that even if they draft offensive linemen, those guys are not going to take those guys' spots. They're going to take the spots of Barch and Burford and Zakel and Moore and the backup. They're gonna get offensive linemen who are going to back up. That would be my guess. Tight end, I don't know. I don't see a tight end at the top of the draft. I think you might be able to get a sleeper later.
Mhm.
Wide receiver. I mean, do you really think they're going to find a wide receiver that's going to make Ayuk, Debo, or Jennings hit the bench? I don't. Running back, they're set. Quarterback, they're set, except for maybe a third string
Third string.
backup or a third string veteran. So I just don't like. I look at the Niners after free agency, and I just put their whole roster down on paper. Let's just say they could get a Carson Wentz, just for the sake of the conversation. Some people like him, some people don't. He's out there. All right. So now your quarterback's set. You're set at running back. You're set at wide receiver. You could use a tight end, but you still got Kittle. So, I mean, I'm not saying you're set at tight end, but you could use a second tight end. You need depth I think to me, this is an opportunity to draft 3 or 4 offensive linemen and really, set yourself up with a fortress around Brock Purdy. Your specialists are set. Your D line could use maybe one more interior guy. Your linebacking room in an ideal world could add one. Like if you could get a Cedric Gray in round 2, that would be nice. You could use a safety, but your real need is offensive line backup and a dominant number one corner. And to me, Surtain represents that. So I don't. It's not like it's like I gotta have Surtain. I'm just thinking when I watch the way they went about their business in free agency, they've got cap room, they've got depth, they don't have a lot of needs, and they have 10 picks. This might be the year to trade a couple picks for that sure thing veteran. I agree that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And if you've got, if you want to go, if you have some corner that you think is going to be really, really good in the draft, I love Max Melton. I'd be happy with Max Melton.
Okay.
At even late first, or even like trade back a couple picks into the second round and draft Max Melton. I'm fine with that. But I gotta think that when I keep hearing from the guys like Mike Silver and others that, man, they got a big move coming. Have any of their free agent signings, would you qualify them as a big move? Probably
None.
not. Yeah.
I mean,
so makes me
at one point,
wonder if that big move coming is a trade for Surtain. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think so. It just doesn't make sense. They went and picked up 2 DBs already, and they're talking to DBs in the draft already. I just don't see it, Larry. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't help. It doesn't, like, adding Christian McCaffrey completely optimized our offense, right? It took the load off of different people. It helped out the quarterback. Brock hasn't even seen the NFL without without Christian McCaffrey behind him. You know, Mooney Ward absolutely gave us a shutdown corner, a guy that can travel, a guy where we go and see the best receiver on every team in the NFL, which they have one. We have a guy that we can match up with them. And then we have developmental pieces coming in behind them. I just don't think having another guy at corner that garners that type of money, like that's an investment. Bringing in a guy like Patrick Surtain, he's not gonna just be an added on Merc. Like we're gonna have to like sign him to multiple years. We're talking a 4 or 5 year contract, right? And then you also have to look at just how the money is split up. You're already paying Fred. All right. Fred makes a base salary where he makes a cap hit base salary of $13 million a year. Then you just got rid of Eric Armstead and you want to put all of that money right back into the defense. Nick Bosa already makes $34 million a year. All right. And then on top of it, Dre is due to get paid after his extension coming off of his injury. It's like I want us to be able to spend the money in a way where we're balanced. We don't spend a lot
So
of money on
it's
our
not about
offense.
the position or the trade. It's about the cap, is what you're saying.
Yeah,